Imagine your child waking up every morning, trying to do better. They tell themselves, today I'll focus. Today I won't forget. Today I'll behave. And as a parent, you believe them because you can see it in their eyes. They really want to try. But by lunchtime, everything starts falling apart. The teacher calls again. Homework is missing. They're distracted. They interrupt. They can't sit still. And slowly, a thought starts to grow in your mind. Why isn't my child trying? But what if the truth is, your child is trying, harder than you can see? They're fighting a battle that no one else can see. This is the reality for millions of children living with ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And to truly understand what your child might be going through, let me introduce you to Ethan. Ethan is 12 years old, and if you were his parent, you'd probably feel confused because every morning he walks into school with the right intentions. He wants to do well. He wants to focus. He wants to make you proud. But inside the classroom, something doesn't cooperate. His biggest struggle? Paying attention. Even when he's trying his hardest, his mind keeps slipping away. A bird outside the window, a small sound in the classroom, a random thought that suddenly takes over. And before he even realizes it, 10, 15 minutes are gone. The teacher is still talking, but Ethan is lost. And from the outside, it looks like he's not trying. But inside, he's frustrated because it feels like his brain just won't listen to him. He's forgetful, too. Books stay at home, homework gets lost in his bag, assignments he actually completed never make it to the teacher. And slowly, his grades start dropping. Teachers begin to worry. Some even think maybe he just doesn't care. But they don't see what's really happening. And as a parent, that's the hardest part. Because Ethan isn't choosing this. His brain just works differently. The hyperactivity nobody understands. And then there's something even harder to understand. The hyperactivity. If you're his parent, you've probably seen this again and again. Ethan just can't sit still. During class, his leg keeps bouncing, his fingers keep moving, his body won't relax. Even when he knows he should sit quietly, his body doesn't listen. And from the outside, it looks like he's being restless or careless, but inside, it feels uncontrollable. Even simple things like listening to someone speak become exhausting because his brain is trying to do two things at once: focus and fight the urge to move. And after a while, it becomes too much. He gets frustrated, irritated, sometimes even angry, not because he wants to be difficult, but because he's overwhelmed. So he finds ways to cope. He keeps his hands busy. He moves, he fidgets, anything to release the energy inside him. And as a parent, you might wonder, why can't he just sit still? But the truth is, for Ethan, sitting still isn't simple. It's a struggle. But then, something changes. Ethan finally gets a diagnosis. And for the first time, things start making sense. Not just for him, but for you as a parent too. Because now, it's not bad behavior, it's understanding. And with that understanding comes the right kind of support. Small changes begin to make a big difference. At school, Ethan is moved to the front, where distractions are fewer. He sits next to someone who helps him stay on track. Instead of juggling everything in his head, he has one simple place to write all his assignments. No more confusion, no more guessing. He's allowed to use small tools in class, something to keep his hands busy, so his mind can finally focus. And when the energy builds up, he's allowed to move. Short breaks, a moment to reset. After school, he starts working with someone who teaches him things no one ever explained before: how to listen, when to speak, how to understand social cues. And at home, something simple but powerful happens. His father starts biking with him to school every morning. That energy inside him finally has somewhere to go. Afternoons are no longer a struggle. They become release, movement, play, freedom. And slowly, things begin to change. But as a parent, one question still remains, and it's not an easy one. Should your child take medication? For severe cases of ADHD, doctors sometimes prescribe medication. But this decision never comes lightly. Children like Leo first undergo comprehensive evaluation by qualified specialists who look beyond surface behaviors. They search for the complete picture, not just symptoms, but causes. Because sometimes ADHD isn't the whole story. It might be the visible tip of a much larger iceberg. Looking beneath the surface. Sometimes what looks like ADHD isn't the full story. It can be linked to deeper causes: stress at home, bullying at school, poor sleep, nutrition issues, or even undiagnosed learning difficulties. And this is where understanding your child becomes so important. There's a well-known story of a girl named Gillian Lynn who couldn't sit still in class. She struggled to concentrate. Teachers labeled her as having a learning disorder. But when her mother took her to a specialist, instead of giving treatment, he played music. The moment the music started, Gillian began dancing. The specialist told her mother, "Your daughter isn't sick, she's a dancer." And he was right. Gillian Lynn went on to become one of the most successful choreographers in the world. What looked like a disorder was actually a different kind of ability, one that needed understanding, not fixing. Summary: ADHD is real, and as a parent, the struggle is real too. The frustration, the confusion, those moments when you feel like something is wrong but you can't explain what. And for children like Ethan, that feeling can be even heavier. But here's what's also true. With the right understanding, with the right support, and with someone who truly believes in them, these children don't just struggle, they grow. They become creative thinkers, problem solvers, artists, leaders. Because sometimes the brain that can't sit still in a classroom is the same brain that sees the world differently. And that difference is not a weakness, it's potential. So the real question isn't, can your child succeed? The real question is, are we willing to understand them enough to help them succeed?